And I said, why do you want me to be medical power of attorney and not anybody else? And that's what I wanted. I wanted her to share her answer.
Because I trust her and she's been through this, and I've watched her with someone that's very close to her. I was impressed by the love and the care and the attention that she gave this loved one.
Yes.
And I trust her with me.
Good. I'm glad that you brought that up. It's very personal, and I think that's very important because a medical decision or a decision as, you know, which could be end of life, it could just be an accident, it could be a trauma. That's exactly the person you want.
Right.
So thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you for her.
Thank you.
Oh my God, guys, you don't want to miss this video. We have some very explosive documents that truly expose Priscilla Presley in a different light. In a different light. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Down the Rabbit Hole News, I am the Rabbit. Guys, I have to tell you something, and I need you to sit down for this one because we have some stuff to get into. Bridget Cruz and Kevin Fialco have amended their lawsuit against Priscilla Presley. And this amendment was filed on September 3rd this year. In this updated complaint, just to give you a quick little summary, they have made some pretty controversial claims. Let me give you the short. They're accusing Priscilla Presley of pressuring Elvis Presley to his death by placing a lien on Graceland, alleging this added stress pushed him to his death nearly 4 months before he passed away. Okay, there's one. Now, Priscilla's legal team has responded, okay, which is Marty Singer. I feel like Marty Singer is like the celebrity lawyer for everybody. Marty Singer did respond and basically labeled these new allegations as absurd and ridiculous, mocking the idea by saying, "We expect her next amended complaint to claim that Priscilla is responsible for JFK's death." Well, listen, I don't know about all that. And I think that if Priscilla Presley has done wrong to Cruz and Fialco, then they deserve their due justice. I support people getting their due justice. And, you know, if they're going to sue, they're going to sue. Completely get it. For those that missed the previous video, I know I got a lot of new subscribers from that video because you guys were in my chat educating me about the history and everything that has happened between Priscilla Presley and Lisa Marie Presley, and just the toxicity of that relationship, as well as what happened with Elvis Presley. I do appreciate the education because I'm not a historian and I'm definitely new to a lot of this. But for those that are new, didn't even watch this other first video that I did a couple weeks ago, let me give you the too long didn't read. So in August of 2025, Bridget Cruz and Kevin Fialco filed a $50 million lawsuit against Priscilla Presley. Okay. And this was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court. And they allege fraud, breach of contract, claiming that they had invested significant time and money to help restore Priscilla's brand, public image, and were really there for Priscilla. Bridget and Kevin allege that Priscilla basically just cut them off and defamed them, right? So this is some of the basis of that lawsuit. One of the biggest claims that was made out of that lawsuit is that Priscilla Presley basically pulled the plug on Lisa Marie. The lady didn't even wait for her, for Lisa Marie's kids to get there so they could say their goodbyes or anything like that. And they actually showed an advance directive. And we showed that. I literally, my mouth dropped when I saw that advance directive because, like, oh my God, like Lisa Marie told us that she did not want this plug pulled. And there was exclamation points and everything. So this was a real thing for her. And I did wonder, honestly, when I saw Lisa Marie's initials in the exclamation points, if she felt like people were trying to pull the plug on her, or like she would be set up. Listen, this is just me and my conspiracy mind. None of this is facts, but it just kind of made me feel that way. Like, here's a document that will forever show this. How do you not conclude that? But anyways, let's keep going. But anyways, that's just my opinion. Now, it was said that Priscilla Presley had already filed a lawsuit of her own in July of 2024, accusing Cruz and Fialco of financial elder abuse, asserting that they manipulated her into signing unbalanced deals, giving Crews a controlling stake in her intellectual property, and limiting Presley's financial control. There is another character who is also involved, who is part of this lawsuit by the name Keough Morgan, who's also part of that lawsuit, who they allege has also kind of inserted himself in this situation with Priscilla Presley. I mean that guy has like this elder abuse situation in his background stemming from Stan Lee. Oh, anyways, let me stop right here and let's review this amended lawsuit that was amended by Bridget Crews and Kevin Fialco. Let me tell y'all, it's got some exhibits. Sit down and let's review this together. Let's go. So I went through this lawsuit to try to compare differences and things that I saw from the first lawsuit to this lawsuit. So I highlighted some things. Some of the things I'm not going to repeat, but I did go through this lawsuit already to just review. What I have not seen personally is these exhibits. So I'm recording this and will likely be maybe shocked and surprised just as much as everybody might be here on this chat. Okay, so summary of the case. Now, I did highlight what clearly is different. Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll. Defendant Priscilla Presley, defendant or Priscilla, always wanted to be the queen. In reality, she is a calculated sociopath and a master of deception who has lived off and exploited the Presley name for her own personal gain. Despite flaunting a public persona that only wants to protect and keep her family together, Priscilla ultimately wants one thing: power, no matter the cost. She does anything she can to control her image with the public, like a pit viper willing to prey on her own family. She even admits to pulling her late daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, off life support, despite clear directives from Lisa stating otherwise, and in the midst of Lisa's threats to sue her for misconduct in the upcoming book, Softly as I Leave You, Life After Elvis. Priscilla flatly rejected Elvis's plea, "Don't be cruel," walking out the door over cries of, "Don't go, we can't leave her all alone." In fact, despite projecting a soft-spoken and almost naive image to the public, defendant Priscilla was and always has been ruthless and cunning. Her quest for power is closely followed by her thirst for money. To that end, Priscilla has a history of manipulating those closest to her for her own personal gain, including her late ex-husband, Elvis Presley, Elvis, her late daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, Lisa Marie, her granddaughter, Riley Keough, and now plaintiffs who were directed by Presley to resolve and handle all of her personal affairs to maximize the value of her brand, and who refused to be taken advantage of by her long-standing pattern of schemes to defraud those closest to her. Priscilla demanded that plaintiffs comply with her incessant requests, only to turn on them on a dime when she decided she was done having them do her bidding. There is a clear pattern supported by irrefutable documentation. Priscilla's first victim was Elvis, who she married on May 1st, 1967, thereafter giving birth to Lisa on February 1st, 1968. After just over 5 years of marriage, Elvis and Priscilla divorced, entering into a property settlement agreement and marital termination agreement, collectively the marital dissolution agreements, each on August 15, 1972, Exhibit 1 and 2. So we have exhibits of these documentation. Okay, under the marital dissolution agreements, Priscilla unequivocally waived the right to inherit anything from Elvis's estate. Exhibit 3. Priscilla knew she was entitled to inherit nothing from Elvis. So she knew she wasn't supposed to get anything from Elvis. Elvis then filed a petition to dissolve the marriage on August 18, 1972, and defaulted, and a default was entered against Priscilla. Under the marital dissolution agreement, Priscilla was to be paid $100,000, equivalent to about $772,842.11 presently, broken down into two separate payments of $50,000 each. She also received a 1971 Mercedes-Benz Benz, a 1969 Cadillac Eldorado, and a 1971 Harley Davidson. Oh my God, all of these cars are like classic cars. Wow. Elvis agreed to pay $500 per month in child support, equivalent to about $3,864.21 presently, until Lisa reached 18 years of age, and agreed to pay $1,000 per month in spousal support for 5 years, equivalent to about $727,728.42 per month presently. Elvis also agreed to pay Lisa's medical insurance and education, and agreed to secure a life insurance policy for Lisa's benefits. Elvis also agreed to pay for Lisa's medical insurance and education, and agreed to secure a life insurance policy for Lisa's benefits. Out of pure greed, Priscilla claimed that what she received was not good for her to live on, and she attempted to set aside the default entered against her, seeking to effectively unwin the marital dissolution agreements, feigning ignorance. Priscilla claimed that Elvis defrauded her, asserting that Elvis promised to always take care of her. See Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 5. Oh my God. So these exhibits are going to be interesting. We will see these. Elvis opposed Priscilla's claims, arguing that Priscilla previously urged him, "I do not want to take you. I want only to know that I can live comfortably." Okay, we have another exhibit. Despite assuring Elvis that she did not want to take him, Elvis was forced to renegotiate the marital dissolution agreements, entering into a modified settlement and marital terminations agreement on October 4th, 1973. The modified Presley settlement agreement. Okay, we have an exhibit for that. Elvis was forced to pay Priscilla $725,000 within 10 days of court approval, equal to about $5,274,995.50. Okay, presently, and an additional $720,000, equal to about $5,238,616.22 presently, broken down into installments of $6,000 per month. Elvis was also forced to pay Priscilla 50% of the proceeds of the sale of his residence at 144 Mono Valley Drive in Los Angeles, California, and up to 1 year of spousal support in the amount of $4,200 per month, which equals to about $30,558.59 per month presently. Oh my goodness. Priscilla's thirst for power and money was insatiable. Despite enriching herself and extorting millions of dollars from Elvis, she then placed a lien on Graceland on or around April 29, 1977, in the amount of $494,024.49, adding pressure to Elvis less than 4 months before he died on August 16, 1977. From a heart attack and drug complications. Okay, there's exhibits for this. Priscilla exerted undue pressure on Elvis, pushing him to his death. So, are they saying, and again, this is a lawsuit, okay? These people are going to have to figure this out in court, right? Are they saying that Priscilla Presley was also responsible, or at least had a hand in, because she put pressure in Elvis's death? I mean, this is similar to what was said about Lisa Marie Presley. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Priscilla wanted the spotlight after Elvis's death, but her daughter Lisa stood in the way. When Elvis died on August 16, 1977, his estate was placed in the trust for Lisa and his sole heir, who became the sole beneficiary of the trust after Lisa's grandfather and great-grandmother each passed. Elvis's father, Vernon, was the initial trustee and executor of Elvis's estate. Priscilla used the lien she placed on Graceland, strong-arming Vernon, who was on his deathbed in 1979 and was otherwise weak and unable to defend the estate, into making Priscilla the co-executor of the estate, taking over management of the trust. Since Priscilla's divorce, Elvis was entitled to nothing, as she was not mentioned in Elvis's will. And in fact, pursuant to her divorce agreement, she was supposed to stop using the surname Presley. Okay, I remember us talking about this in the first lawsuit. After Elvis died in 1977, Priscilla, however, continued to use the name Presley as she needed to exploit her name for her own financial gain, despite Presley wishes otherwise. Priscilla's use of the Presley name and ultimately her name, image, and likeness were and always have been crucial to her survival. The original trust established for Lisa benefit is dissolved on February 1st, 1993, when Lisa turned 25, at which point she inherited the estate. Since Lisa was the sole heir of Elvis's estate, which included ownership and control of Graceland, Priscilla was substantially dependent upon and intertwined with Lisa. Priscilla clung to Lisa and could not fathom being a mere afterthought of Presley legacy. After all, in her mind, she was the queen. Well, here's the question that I have. Priscilla Presley, and I had asked this before, y'all, because I didn't really understand what was Priscilla Presley's talent. Like, when I'm hearing that she's booking shows so she could talk about the man that she divorced. But in the Priscilla movie, I mean, she kind of painted Elvis in a different light. I guess she was a child when she married, when she was with Elvis. But here's the question that I have, guys. Like, why stay in the proximity of this man? She had already been separated from him for quite some time. Why would she stay in this proximity? Why carry his name? I know way too many people that are in situations like this where they really try to get away from all of it, names, money, and anything to start over. But that wasn't the case for Priscilla. I mean, even now, what do we know Priscilla for? For being the ex-wife of Elvis Presley. But there is no actual talent. The lady doesn't sing. There's no actual talent from this, right? Like, why stay in this proximity? But I could be ignorant to the topic. When it comes to this, y'all let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Priscilla nevertheless resented and was jealous of Lisa. Shortly after Elvis's death, Lisa told Priscilla that her boyfriend, Michael Edwards, was touching her inappropriately, telling her he was going to teach her how to be with a man. Wait. Hold up. Let me see if I understand this correctly. It says Priscilla nevertheless resented and was jealous of Lisa. Shortly after Elvis's death, Lisa told Priscilla that her boyfriend, Michael Edwards, was touching her inappropriately. So Lisa came to her mom to tell her, your boyfriend, Michael Edwards, is touching me inappropriately, telling her he was going to teach her how to be with a man. Oh my God, is this true? Priscilla blew off Lisa's desperate pleas. She said she was lying and claimed that Lisa could never keep her hands off of her boyfriends. Instead of comforting Lisa, Priscilla dropped her off at the Church of Scientology and got her hooked on drugs, even doing cocaine with her. In reality, Priscilla envied Lisa for always being in the spotlight. In public, Priscilla portrayed the opposite persona, one of a doting mother and matriarch, known to her grandchildren as Nona. This is a calculated image, but nothing could be further from the truth. Listen, it doesn't escape me that Lisa Marie died. I believe she was supposed to be testifying against Danny Masterson. So I know that this was around her death, or she was supposed to be testifying against Danny Masterson. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, my hair's all crazy, but oh, this is crazy. Did this really happen? And what exhibits or information do they have of this? Or did Lisa write about this, that her mother didn't protect her when this man was doing things to her? I mean, how did they get this information? That's a lot of questions that I have. In reality, Priscilla envied Lisa for always being in the spotlight in public. When Lisa came into her inheritance in 1993, at the age of 25, she established her own trust, which was ultimately called the Promenade Trust. We know this from the first lawsuit. The trust was a revocable living trust designed to protect Lisa's assets and manage her inheritance from Elvis's estate, including Graceland. Valued in the value it in aggregate at the time at around 100 million. At 100 million, this is when the financial manager Barry Siegel, he was around. And if I remember correctly, I don't think Lisa was a fan of Barry Siegel. Okay, he was Priscilla's manager, but also heavily involved in Lisa's finances. Despite Elvis's wishes otherwise, Priscilla continued to exploit the Presley name to fund her lifestyle, eventually deploying another part of her master plan to live off of the Presley name. Priscilla demanded 13 plus million in 2005 for her own personal gain, and so she could compete against Lisa. And they have a very lengthy footnote at the bottom, but it says Priscilla entered into a purchase and sale agreement with EPE on February 7, 2005. The purchase and sale agreement. Under the purchase and sale agreement, Priscilla paid $3 million in cash upon execution and then paid the balance of $3.5 million over 8 consecutive payments at 5.385%, for a total of $7.4 million, including interest. So we have these exhibits as well in there. On the same day, February 7, 2005, Priscilla entered into a consulting agreement. The consulting agreement where she was to be paid $560,000 per year in additional compensation over a period of 10 years. On July 12, 2010, the consulting agreement was amended, giving Priscilla a $250,000 bonus and increasing her consulting fee to $800,000 per year. The consulting agreement was again amended June 21st, 2011, increasing Priscilla's compensation to $900,000 per year through 2018, after already extorting and exploiting Elvis for millions of dollars and using a lien against Graceland to exert control and make herself co-executor of the trusts and, hold up, manager of the estate. She then exploited Lisa, selling off Lisa's assets for her own benefit, pilfering the estate. Lisa thereafter left broke. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so let me go up a little bit because I stopped highlighting around here. So Priscilla demanded 13 plus million in 2005 for her own personal gain so that she could compete against Lisa, her own daughter. There's an exhibit of that. Priscilla deliberately chose to ignore Elvis's wishes, attempting to forever live off of Elvis's hard work, and good name, entering into a purchase and sale agreement and consulting agreement with Elvis Presley Enterprise, EPE. This is where that EPE comes from, an entity that is majority owned by Authentic Brands Group, ABG. EPE manages Elvis Presley's intellectual property, including his name, images, and likeness. Okay, so here is a reread of the first lawsuit. It gets into Siegel and Priscilla and the stewardship. So we're gonna kind of skip over. So if you guys remember, Cruz and Fialco worked to help Priscilla exploit her name, image, and likeness, right? Her NIL, name, image, and likeness. Okay. But then they found out that her name, image, and likeness had already been sold years prior. And so Cruz and Fialco weren't even aware of this. And that was the question that I had asked. I said, well, like, isn't there a way to check this, like, before you get into a business like this? But see, I'm ignorant to stuff like this. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Okay, so then some of this, again, is a repeat of the first lawsuit. What's been amended, at least what's been added to this new lawsuit, is this like Elvis Presley information that I had no clue, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't, as well as a lot of exhibits. Now, new piece of information is this. After Lisa's funeral, Priscilla immediately filed a petition in court challenging the 2016 amendment to the Promenade Trust and specifically challenging her own granddaughter's inheritance, tasking Cruz and Fialco with brokering a deal with Riley. Priscilla, unrelenting in her thirst for money and power, continued to pursue claims against Riley, her own granddaughter, despite Riley's pleas to honor her mother's wishes. Here's the question that I have for Cruz and Fialco. Like, if you've seen this woman, right, Priscilla, like, she's doing all this like behind the scenes things. She's doing all this behind the scenes stuff where she's like, Lisa Marie has died, and you're seeing her try to challenge this Why would you participate, or why would you be tasked in brokering deals with Riley? Like, I don't know how I would feel about that. I mean, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments about that, because that just seems so off to me as well. It further goes, shortly after Lisa's death, Riley wrote Priscilla stating, "I have protected you from lawsuits from my mother. Even a few weeks before my mother's pass, she wanted to sue you again, and you called me for help. See Exhibit 36? Wait a minute. So Riley wrote this to her grandmother Priscilla? This is new to me, y'all. Like, I cannot wait to get to these exhibits. Did she really write this? Priscilla ignored Riley's pleas, manipulating her with claims that she loved her and they needed to be a family. Oh my God. Riley was forced to oblige to avoid having the trust incur excessive legal fees. Riley attempted to work out a deal with Priscilla, texting, "From our meeting with my grandma, it sounded like she wanted to advise me on the estate and to be able to do events at Graceland and be the face of Graceland." Priscilla, who already Armstrong Elvis and took advantage of Lisa, manipulated her own granddaughter so she could continue to be the face of Graceland. Priscilla demanded Cruz and Fialco ultimately structure a deal for her, where Priscilla was to be paid $2.4 million in aggregate, and Priscilla demanded that they broker a 7-figure deal for her son, Navarone, who was not originally entitled to anything from Lisa's estate. Cruz and Fialco also negotiated a deal for Harper and Finley Lockwood, Lisa's other children. Michael Lockwood, their father, was financially destitute at the time. I do remember this part of the lawsuit. Cruz and Fialco worked to secure an attorney for him on contingency and negotiated a deal for him to be paid $25,000 per month. So we kind of knew that they were helping Michael Lockwood, right? Cruz and Fialco, which was a good thing, right? Priscilla then demanded that Cruz and Fialco purchase the name, image, and likeness rights for Harper and Finley Lockwood, her 2 other grandchildren. Priscilla wanted to ensure that she was the face of Graceland, and she wanted to make sure that she could stop them from taking the spotlight, just as Lisa took the spotlight from her. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here it says plaintiffs were unaware of Priscilla's true intentions. So they didn't know. How long did it take them before they realized that, Priscilla had other intentions? Within weeks of resolving Priscilla's estate battle with Riley, Cruz was contacted via text by defendant Keough Morgan on June 28, 2023. Morgan claimed that he was Priscilla's friend and falsely claimed that he was an attorney. Oh yes, we remember this guy, right? And that he also said that he had purchased parts of Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe's estate, Marlon Brando. So this guy was questionable guy that inserted himself into a couple things here. Now, in this amended lawsuit, this is what they added. Cruz, Fialco, and Priscilla Presley formed companies to exploit Presley's NIL. We know this. But line 75, at Attorney Wright's insistence, Attorney Wright conducted a confidential interview with Priscilla to ensure that she understood the nature of the agreement she was entering into and wanted to proceed. Again, at Attorney Wright's insistence, this interview was videotaped. After the interview, Attorney Wright authorized Priscilla to proceed with the signing. The newly formed companies were as followed. So there was a videotape. Now I'm looking at this footnote right here. There's a number right there, it says 17. And the amended complaint has 2 videos. 2 videos on these Google Drives. I'm going to be adding some of these clips here so you guys can see.
Are you going to date this? Sure.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to date them. I'm going to notarize them, and I'm going to witness them. And he's owed that now for 22 years, and still nobody's knocked on his door.
Wow.
So I wouldn't be too worried.
Isn't that a head up?
Yeah, but they've got to do something about it. I mean, you got it or you don't, and you try to negotiate some kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I'm not a
RJS
tax
is
lawyer.
going to be great at that, and they are tax attorneys, so they'll
Yep,
do the
they're
best they
very,
can.
very big tax attorneys. That's all Sam does, I think. Tax.
Yeah, that's all he
And
does.
he's also a professor.
Mm-hmm. Yep, at the university, he sure is.
Okay. Briefcase. We're getting to the end. Right there. That is another tax form to give Sam authority.
This is the franchise tax board for the state, and one is federal.
Right. Those are Kevin's things.
And this one, do you have to put her title on there?
No, I
No?
will.
Okay.
They'll put a title on there.
Alright,
Okay, this goes in the briefcase.
okay.
Okay. I have to get some other people's signatures. I believe your signatures are done, but you wanted to speak to Brigitte about this. That you pointed out and you wanted to talk to her about that. Would you like me to leave the room while y'all discuss that
Please.
right now? I'm happy to.
Do I leave the camera on or off?
No, we don't need to
Done.
turn the camera on. for
Thank
that.
you.
And these papers,
That's-
you wanna hold on to
I'm
them while we?
gonna-
This is the marital termination agreement. And it's kind of blurry, but it says the marital termination agreement is made this 15th day of August 1972 at the Los Angeles, California, between Elvis Aaron Presley and Priscilla Ann Presley. Okay. So this is their I guess this is what their divorce papers, I guess. The parties are husband and wife and were married on May 1st, 1976 in Las Vegas, Nevada. There was one child, which we know is Lisa Marie, okay? Husband, they redacted the social security numbers. Unfortunate circumstances, this is the reason for, I guess, why they parted the ways. Unfortunate circumstances and unhappy differences have arisen between the parties, by reason of which they have lived separate and apart since February 23rd, 1972. Okay, and by reasons of which they intend to dissolve their marriage through a petition, therefore, to be filed by husband in the Los Angeles Superior Court. All right. Then there was, it says, by this marital termination agreement, the parties wish to avoid unnecessary litigation and emotional stress and expense which would accompany something, I can't make out this word, and to resolve the matters of child custody, child support, forever, finally, and completely settle all their rights to spousal support, with the exception of the provisions of paragraph 1 and 2, which deal with child custody and child support, respectively. This marital agreement shall be submitted to the court for incorporation and merge in the, I can't make out that word, something judgment, dissolution in the impending proceedings between Elvis and Priscilla. Okay. So this is their divorce papers, I guess. And that's the attorney for Elvis and attorney for Priscilla. Okay. Attorneys are there. And then Elvis and Priscilla's signature are here. Okay, exhibit 2. Oh, so this is like their divorce paper. Okay, paragraph headings used herein are for convenience only and do not purport to provide a complete or accurate summary of the contents of any paragraph. No such heading shall be deemed to have any bearing upon the construction of any part of this agreement. Effective date of this agreement, it is hereby agreed that the effective date herein mentioned shall be the date first above written. This agreement shall be dependent for its effectiveness on the approval of the court in any action for dissolution of marriage. Okay, so again, I guess part of their divorce papers. That's their signatures. All right. Exhibit 3. So this is the circled waiver of right to inherit. Each party waives any and all rights to inherit the estate of other at his or her death. She wasn't supposed to inherit anything. I guess this is part of that. Or take property from the other by device or bequests, unless under a will executed subsequent to the effective date hereof. Okay, so bequest means a plan or invent to leave. Okay. Or to claim any family allowance or probate, homestead, or the act as personal representatives upon intestacy of the other's estate, except as the nominee of another person legally entitled to the right, or to act as a personal representative under the will of the other, unless under a will executed subsequent to the effective date hereof. Wow. Mutual release. Each of the parties does hereby agree that as of effective date of this agreement, all income and earnings thereafter incurring to or received by the other, and all property thereafter in any manner acquired by the other shall be the sole and separate property of the other, and each of them does hereby forever release, relinquish, renounce, and waive any right and claim in and to any such earnings, incomes, thereafter acquired property of the other. Okay, let's go to Exhibit 4. Declaration of Priscilla Ann Presley. Oh my God. Okay, let's read this. I'm a respondent in the above matter. I request that the court vacate the default entered against me so that I may appear before the court and obtain a division of our community property together with spousal support and child support according to the law. I permit the default to be entered against me because I had a signed property settlement agreement and a spousal support agreement, which I was told at the time was fair. At the time that I signed these agreements, I did not know that the nature of the assets owned by my husband and me, nor did I know I was entitled to one half of them. Okay. Then this number 4 area is highlighted. Since I was 16 years old, I have been living with my husband's family. And during that time, I developed trust and confidence in my husband, his father, and other persons associated with them. My husband and I were married in Las Vegas, Nevada on May 1st, 1967, when I was 21 years old. So she was married when she was 21, but she'd been living with Elvis's family since she was 16. During our marriage, I was never involved in my husband's business or financial affairs. I was never informed of my husband's income nor the nature and amount of property which he had accumulated. My expenses were paid through an unlimited checking account upon which I wrote checks. Deposits into the account were made by my husband's business managers. Although I signed federal income returns, I never examined the returns and do not know what income was disclosed by them. Okay, so it says my husband and I separated in February of 1972. In August 1972, my husband told me that we should agree on division of our property. Sometime around the middle of August 1972, my husband came over to my house in order to discuss the matter. What's funny to me, or at least not funny, but what's interesting to me is that it looks like Priscilla has never managed her own things. Like even this right here, she didn't even know what was coming or going or what Elvis had had. She was just writing checks. It's almost like if what Cruz and Fialco are saying is true now and the allegations that they're making, I mean, it almost seems like she was used to people just giving her money, having money all the time, and not really being on her own like that or being independent like that. I wouldn't expect a 16, 15-year-old to know anything about finances or anything like that. I mean, honestly, this is a different time frame where maybe more things were a little bit different and socially acceptable, but I just wouldn't expect them to know anything about filing taxes quite yet. Sometime around the middle of August 1972, my husband came over to my house in order to discuss the matter. My husband stated to me that he felt the sum of $100,000, Exhibit 5, would be proper amount for me to get. My husband also agreed to pay for furniture for my new apartment and pay the rent for the apartment. He did not tell me how much money or other property he had. Wow. He asked me to make my decision then, and I told him that I would accept the 100,000 because I assumed it was fair. On that same day, a short time after our discussion, our family attorney, Gregory something, I can't read that last name, came to our house. He had been called by my husband to help us complete this agreement. When attorney came into the room, my husband told him that he had agreed to give me 100,000. Although I do not recall exactly what attorney said at the time, I got the impression that he believed it was fair and proper amount for me to receive as my share of the community property. Okay. Okay, it further goes. The attorney stated that in addition to the property settlement, that the law required my husband to give me some amount as spousal support and child support. They both asked me how much money I was spending each month for living expenses, and I quickly wrote some numbers down on a piece of paper. I do not remember the total, but my husband and attorney suggested that I be given 1,000 a month for myself and 500 a month for my daughter. Oh, my husband also assured me that in spite of the property settlement agreement, if I needed additional money, he would always take care of me. The attorney told me that he would draw up the papers and call me when they were ready. A few days later, I was called by Mr. Attorney and asked me to come to his office to sign the papers. When I got to the office, he had the papers prepared and he told me that necessary for it was necessary for a lawyer other than him to look at the papers for me. He told me he had made arrangements with Mr. Robert Brock, whose offices were in the same building, and he would take me there. Mr. Attorney, I think it's Hookstrand. Anyways, it's hard for me to see because of the print. So the attorney told me Mr. Brock might ask me about my husband's finances and start to discuss money with me, but okay, exhibit 6. He is going to keep going. Husband's finances started to discuss money with me, but now if it's the same page, it would kind of help us out here. He something. This must be a different page because I can't even figure it out. Then it says, recognizing that the marriage dissolution procedures would go forward, and no time did ask for anything beyond which I was agreed to pay. So he never complained that she got as a fair agreement. I can't read this. In or about December 1972 or January 1971, I'm assuming it's 1973, as a gesture of generosity and friendship. Okay, this is all blurry, and then it says right here 40,000. Oh, okay. Stop. Is this Elvis's paperwork? This has to be Elvis. After Miss Presley had employed her present counsel, she talked to me by phone. And at that time, I asked her what she wanted. Miss Presley told me, and she did not know. I asked her whether she had spent the 50,000 that I'd given her, and she did not give me a direct answer. I asked her why she had hired an attorney. At that time, she said she needed more money. Again, she urged, I do not want to take you, because this is what Cruz and Fialco said initially in the lawsuit. I don't want to take you. I only want to know that I can live comfortably. In none of the conversations did Miss Presley advise me that she was imposed upon, defrauded, dissatisfied, or that any proceedings undertaken to seek a dissolution of marriage were procured by mistake or inexcusable neglect. And my wife affirmed that a divorce should be ensued. Yeah, I think this is Elvis right here who wrote this. Okay. Yeah, because that would make sense for it, because this is what Fialco and Cruz are talking about in the very first couple of pages. Okay, let's keep going. Hopefully you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. I had to zoom in to like, I don't know, 250 at this point. Modifications of settlement and marital termination agreements. This agreement is made this 4th of October 1973 at Beverly Hills, California, between Elvis and Priscilla, okay? Elvis and Priscilla hereby contract with reference to the following facts. All right, I think I can zoom out for a little bit because this is too much. This must be a little bit better. The other print was horrible. So, August 15, 1973, Elvis and Priscilla execute 2 agreements. 1, property settlement agreement, and 2, marital termination agreement. Said agreements are referred to and incorporated herein by reference. Thereafter, on August 18, 1972, Elvis filed a petition to dissolve the marriage between Elvis and Priscilla. Said action is entitled in the matter of Elvis Aaron Presley and Priscilla Ann Presley. Okay. And then it says a default of Priscilla has been taken in said action, and the action is now pending. Elvis performed and at all times has been willing to complete performances at the executory provisions of the property settlement and marital termination agreements herein above reference to. On May 29th, 1973, Priscilla by her counsel filed a motion in this court to set aside her default to invalidate, rescind, or nullify the property settlement and marital termination agreements executed August 15, 1972. Elvis had contested and disputed the rights of Priscilla to set aside her default, denies that the agreements and should be set aside, and has asserted the validity and or forcibility thereof. Okay. And then it goes to Exhibit 8. And this again continues with marital termination agreements and the date. It says right here, in addition, therefore, Elvis shall pay to Priscilla in consideration of property division or settlement the following sums of money, sums of $725,000, which is the same thing we just read. It says right here, 10 days following the approval of the agreement by the Superior Court of the State of California. These are the payouts that Cruz and Fialco read out for us, but it goes into spousal support. And then it further says right here, and I'm trying to be careful because if I zoom in, it's going to get a little bit crazy, but waiver and release or further discovery. Priscilla specifically waives further accounting, representation, and or warranties with reference to any and all property, communities, quasi-community, separate property, or otherwise, including earnings and or accumulations of Elvis's earnings or acquired prior to subsequent to marriage from any source whatsoever. And Priscilla specifically releases to Elvis as his side sold separate property and any property of whatsoever kind and or. Okay, then it goes to Exhibit 9. I mean, some of this information I am going to block because it's like, I would say pretty private, but here's a deed of trust. There is excluded from its conveyance a portion of the front of said property, okay, containing 12,530 square feet, conveyed to the city of Memphis, May 21st, 1976, by quick claim deed and recorded as instrument. There's a number there. So is this the deed to Graceland? This is a register deed, and this is Priscilla's name is on this as well. We're going to move on from this because, like I said, some of this has some information. I'm like, well, they're going to have to figure it out in court. But this, I've already read the lawsuit, so I'm only going to go with parts that I found interesting. So more on the agreement, Exhibit 14. So Exhibit 14 is that Lisa Marie Advance Health Care Directive, which we've gone through on the first video. Again, I'm not going to go over some of this already. You're going to have to watch the first video. Lisa, again, put her initials here, choices to prolong life. I want my life to be prolonged as long as possible within the limits of general accepted healthcare standards. And she kind of put in here what she wanted and her wishes. She made an error here, so she kind of crossed it out and put LMP, my agent. It's kind of really sad to see. She didn't want to give any organs or tissues or any parts. And she signed that. And she had various witnesses. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Grantor and Settler and Principal's ongoing duty to disclose business opportunities made and entered in this 24th day of March 2023. There's Bridget Cruz's name right there. Whereas January 8, 2023, Priscilla, acting as a principal, created a durable power of attorney naming her agent, in fact, Bridget Cruz. And whereas all parties acknowledge and agree that it is foreseeable that since those events have occurred as described above, Presley may from time to time receive offers of employment, whether as an employee, independent contractor, consultant, special entity, okay, here, but not limited to an offer to use her NIL. So basically, Priscilla was supposed to disclose any kind of like maybe business venture that she was engaging to Bridget Cruz, who's suing her. It says right here, she receive any offer of being an employee, independent contractor, anything, but not limited to any offer to use her name, likeness, and image. Her name, image, and likeness. She has to disclose this because she agreed to, since Bridget Cruz is the co-trustee and agent, in fact. Bridget Cruz shall be required to consent to Presley's acceptance. So this is how deep this went. Like, because of the negotiations and the businesses, Bridget has to also consent to this. That's interesting. And there's the signature, but she did agree to it. I mean, she was interviewed by an attorney, so there was somebody else in this mix. One of the exhibits is 31, and here's a page of Softly As I Leave You. Vicky says she picked Ivy up and bring her back while I called Navarone. When Ivy got to my house, we left for the hospital in Woodland Hills. Breaking a few speed limits on the way, there were already 2 paparazzis hiding on the hills when we arrived in the back of the entrance. Waiting for me, so much of the information blacked out. I texted Danny, who came to walk me inside to Lisa. Ivy went to park the car and then waited outside for Navarone. Close family and friends were arriving by then, but there was no private place to put them. The hospital staff scrambled to find a room for them to wait in and then escorted them inside. Danny and I identified everyone, and they were given passes. Michael had arrived with the twins. Jerry was there. He had been in the next room with Elvis when Lisa Marie was born. He was there again as she lay dying. I knew from the moment I walked into Lisa's hospital room that she was already gone. Lisa was already gone. Priscilla knew that Lisa was gone, but why did they have her on life support if you knew that she was gone? It says in the next sentence, she was hooked to a machine that she was breathing for, and she had a heartbeat. There was little brain activity. Her spirit, always so vital, wasn't there. Riley later told us that while she was still on her flight, she had felt her mother's spirit pass, but none of us was ready to give up yet. A nurse came to tell me that Navarone had arrived. I asked her to bring him into the room. Then we began to wait. Finally, Navarone voiced the question we were all thinking. How long until we knew if she was going to start breathing again? The doctor said it could be 2 minutes, or it could be 2 days. After 2 hours, Navarone couldn't take the anxiety any longer. He left to go into the other room. The others were allowed in, 1 or 2 at a time. Danny and I remained holding Lisa's hand, stroking her face, telling her we loved her. Okay, so there's exhibit 32. I might have to read this book, y'all. So it goes into the next page, 295. At some point, I remember that the nurse took me to the other room where Ivy stepped forward to meet me. The nurse told Ivy to see to it that I ate and drank something. My cousin took my arm, but then we heard the emergency alarm from Lisa's room. It was a code blue. Lisa's heart had stopped. As I started back to my daughter, the nurse detained Ivy and spoke to her in a whisper. Nodding towards me, she told Ivy, "Come with us. I need you to stand right behind her. She's going to fall, and you will need to catch her." The next thing I remember is the doctor talking to me. He asked me what I wanted him to do. They had restarted Lisa's heart, but there was no guarantee it would keep beating. I asked the doctor, what kind of life will she have if we keep her on that machine? He looked at me with compassion and shook his head. No quality of life at all. I thought about my girl, my wild, rebellious, passionate girl, lying in a vegetative state for the rest of her life. I said what I had to do. Take her off the machine, doctor. My voice was barely above a whisper. The nurse began to unhook the apparatus that kept Lisa's chest rising and falling. I looked at Danny and said, "We have to tell them, Danny, so they can say goodbye." But as I began to move forward the door, I heard Danny's anguished cry, "No, Nona, don't go. We can't leave her all alone." It was unbearable. I begged, I began to sob. I don't remember falling. I don't remember falling. Know that Ivy caught me. After that, everything went dark. I can't remember. I don't want to remember. Was Riley there yet before they decided to take her off this machine? Like, that's really sad because it sounds like she was flying in. And did Priscilla add this part about feeling her mother's spirit leave in order to kind of make it okay that she wasn't there before removing her from this machine? Let me know what you guys think in the comments because this is off to me. So that was exhibit 32, exhibit 33. Here is a text message. Priscilla, my beloved daughter, Lisa Marie, was rushed to the hospital. She is now receiving the best care. Please keep her and our family in your prayers. We feel the prayers from around the world and ask for our privacy during this time. Please approve. Somebody said, okay. I'll take care of it and let Caroline know I'm booking a flight. See you soon. I'm coming, Pepe. I'm coming, Pete or Pepe. This is Priscilla who says, please post that on my social media ASAP. I will add a beautiful photo of you and her from the Golden Globes as well. Oh man, exhibit 34. Barb, Ivy's Priscilla's cousin. I will let you know. I had this ready. It is with heavy hearts that I must share the devastating news that my beautiful daughter, Lisa Marie, has left us. She was the most passionate, strong, and loving woman I've ever known. We ask for privacy as we try to deal with this profound loss. Thank you for the love and prayers. At this time, there will be no further comment. We need to speak before TMZ does. There's a leak in the hospital. I hate asking, and I'm sorry. I'm looking for PP or Pepe, or I don't know what this is supposed to be, but I think it's Pepe. Pepe. That's perfect. This is what Barb responds. She approves. Yes. Okay, exhibit 34. Priscilla. I will on call now with attorneys. From Tom. There's a 5013C3 in Lisa's name already established. If they direct to that, they would have more control. I'm guessing they have a good relationship with the new CEO. The return on Elvis Presley's funds are pretty small, but I imagine they'll grab us significantly from this. You also have your own friends and supporters who care about supporting you. So I hope you move forward with your dreams as well. Here's a message not delivered. Hey there, how are you? I already miss you. This is in 2023. I'm headed for bed for 4:30. Exhibit 36. So lengthy letter. Subject, Nona. Hello. Unfortunately, Nona. So Nona is Priscilla Presley, right? So unfortunately, Nona, as you are taking me to court, I'm being forced to defend my mother's wishes legally and publicly, which would not have been my choice. It is really hurtful that after years of me trying to resolve your and my mother's broken relationship and restore our family, you're taking me, of all people, to court. I have protected you from lawsuits from my mother, often advocating for you. and always try keep to keep everyone operating out of love. This is part of Cruz and Fialco's lawsuit, this paragraph right here. Even a few weeks before my mother passed, she wanted to sue you again, and you called me for help. Her granddaughter, Priscilla Presley, reached out to her granddaughter so that Lisa Marie wouldn't sue her. Wow. Okay. I advised her so strongly against it, which resulted in a fight between me and her. But as you know, she chose to listen to me and not sue you. I believe then and now lawsuits among family members have no place, but here we are. Oh my God. I believe this is a letter that Riley Keough wrote to Priscilla Presley. Wow. I must also share with you that I found being called out about the will less than 24 hours after my mother passed and getting emails from lawyers before my mother was even buried incredibly heartbreaking. It was very upsetting that I was forced to find a lawyer to represent me and my sisters and my mother's wishes within days of her passing. I assume that you are being advised to take these actions by your representatives, but you must know that this chosen path can only further estrange our family, which is really sad. My hope is that you're being poorly advised and that this is not actually coming from you. But what I understand is why there is a narrative that this massive falling out between you and my mother in 2016 didn't occur. My mother very loudly and clearly asserted to many people, including you, that she felt that you had financially and personally betrayed her. As a result, she was taking you off the trust and replacing you with my brother and me. If you are trying to remove me from the estate under the guise that you don't remember the falling out about the Promenade Trust and her finances, it doesn't make any sense because you were still estranged from my mother at the time of her death, all as a result of this same falling out. I'm now being forced to fight you in court to protect my mother and my mother's wishes for her estate, which you know goes against my nature. Oh my God. This is crazy. Exhibit 37. Riley Keough. From our meeting with my grandmother, it sounds like she wanted to advise me on the estate and to be able to do events at Graceland and be the face of Graceland. So if it's not solely about finances, then we can ask to take the annual fee from Joel out, allow her to keep making money the way she is making money currently, and keep her name and likeness. Then ask for a guaranteed amount of paid events at Graceland each year so that she can do her Graceland events and keep her as my advisor and keep that fee. This is that guy, Keon Morgan or Keough Morgan. I think that's how you say his name. The lipstick, the image likeness situation. 40. Priscilla in her shoes. Is she like kneeling? Look at the way her feet are placed. Oh, it looks weird. She's kind of like on the side. Her feet are right there. Just looks awkward in this picture. And that looks to be all the exhibits. Such a sad situation overall, like seeing family fight this way and the way things are being handled. This lawsuit is not painting Priscilla Presley in the best light. Clearly, there's more to the Priscilla Presley story and her family and maybe the way in which she treated her children. Guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And thank you so much for being patient. I've had so many things to do before I got to this lawsuit, but let me know what you guys think. And of course, you guys know this is all public information. I am not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just giving commentary about these public documents, which you guys can all purchase and find and give commentary about. I will see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.